So Trump's no longer just a racist, sexist, or botanist. He's an assassinist.
And here we are in the assassination business again. I'm sorry, this is a top general. We didn't dock him off. He wasn't operational. He was a leader. We killed this guy, a president of the United States. They used to hide from assassination responsibility. This president is bragging about his assassin. And I don't think you're an assassin. Okay. Anyway, thank you so much. This president is.
Ooh, I guess that's a step up from calling him a Republican. And after the left criticized Liz Warren for calling Soleimani a murderer, obviously hurting the feelings of Planned Parenthood, she fell in line quickly, also calling Trump an assassin. Then came Bernie.
But this guy is, was as bad as he was an official of the Iranian government. And you unleash, then if China does that, if Russia does that, Russia has been implicated under Putin with assassinating dissidents. So once you're in the business of assassination, you unleash some very, very terrible forces. And what I am seeing now in this world, as a result of Trump's actions, more and more chaos, more and more instability.
You got to give them credit. They get on the same page faster than a horny congressman. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Accurate.
That was a mercy laugh. But if Trump's an assassin, what's that make Obama or any president who takes out a threat? Basically, it's just something new to call Trump. Fact is, we kill bad guys all the time. Problem is, they just make more, and that sucks. But you can't blame Trump. He didn't put us there. And don't blame him for killing scum who like killing us. It's not a good look. Taking the side of the thugs with American blood on their hands, leave that to Colin Kaepernick. He needs the work. Now, the media's new take is, what's going to happen next? They're predicting bad things, which oddly have actually already happened. Dead contractors, cyber attacks, attacks on ships and embassies, and soldiers. If killing Soleimani makes the world worse than that, I'd like to know how letting him live would have made it better. Anyone? But I get it. Because taking out dirtbags who kill our troops is a good thing, the media must again focus on imagined bad things to come. But what if what you imagine has happened every day since Mannix was in prime time? Predicting that Iran is planning bad things is like predicting Michael Moore will eat a pie. No bookie is going to take your bet. And really, those who keep predicting the end have never been right. But that doesn't stop them. They want the apocalypse just to say, I told you so. I mean, check out these butts.
He has perpetrated great suffering and misery in places like Lebanon and Yemen as well. But the issue is, was this a wise move?
Soleimani was responsible for the deaths of hundreds of American and coalition service members. But even many of Soleimani's enemies admitted he was a military genius.
No one should be shedding any tears for Qasem Soleimani. But at the same time, I think the fact, as Ambassador Sherman said, that the consequences of this could be unbelievable.
We're better off without him. But that had to be evaluated in the context of all the risks that come along with it.
But. That's more butts than that Tommy John underwear commercial we keep playing every day. They are snug, though. But hey, when the media keeps saying but, it's because they're talking out of their asses, which is why everything they say stinks. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an analogy I probably should have let die, Sandra. I apologize for that.
I don't think there's anything wrong with the butts. Here's the problem. Those butts are not bad. Those are questions, and it's reasonable to ask questions in the wake of this. Even Joe Lieberman, we were talking about him on this program yesterday in the Wall Street Journal.
Great butt.
Well, I don't know. Why can't Democrats admit that Soleimani's death makes us safer? He said that is a question that we should all be asking, and he was asking of his fellow Democrats. The butts aren't bad, Greg. As Americans, we should all have questions. Mm-hmm. That's why Congress is being addressed right now and tomorrow so that they can let them know what the intelligence was and what ultimately led to this decision. Going back to Elizabeth Warren, though, she was following Bernie Sanders.
Right.
I think he was the first on the campaign trail to use the assassin verbiage, right? Liz Warren then followed. First, she called him a murderer. Then she said this is the assassination of a senior foreign military official. She was then asked by Meghan McCain on The View 3 times.
Ooh, I have that.
Whether or not, would you like to play it?
I would love to play it.
Okay.
Let's do that. Sandra.
A terrorist?
You issued a statement calling Soleimani a murderer. Later, you issued a second statement saying that he was, quote, an assassination of a senior foreign military official. I don't understand the flip-flop.
This isn't a change. They're true. The question is,
what is the response that the President of the United States should make
So, do you
at
think
an
he's a terrorist?
appropriate time? He's part of a group that has
But
been
is he a
designated.
terrorist?
He is part of a group that's been
So he's not a
designated.
terrorist.
Of course he is.
Excellent timing on that, Greg. But I'll tie it all together then. Joe Lieberman, then to what you just saw from Elizabeth Warren there. At the end of his piece in the Wall Street Journal, he asked, don't Democrats risk looking weak in the face of evil like this and not being able to make an admission like that?
Well, first of all, let me just say I am not going to fall for your flattery, Sandra. My butt is my business. But I don't have a real butt here because I think Soleimani was a bad guy, right? Nonetheless, of course, I didn't say I butt because I don't have a butt, right? But I do think that it's rational, as you were saying, to ask about ramifications, consequences, and the like. Are we safer as a nation?
But they're not doing this, drawing conclusions about it.
No. Even you said just a moment ago that they're asking questions about what's to come.
Do you believe he was assassinated?
No, because that would be extra legal. And I think that's what it's about, Lawrence, is if you use that term, then you're talking about taking an extra legal step. My question about it is this. If you say, listen, he was a terrorist and he's an enemy of ours, an enemy of the American people, if we start killing all the bad guys, we got a lot of people to kill.
Yeah.
You're going to go after Vladimir Putin? You want to go after some of these folks in Latin America?
I think the president said it best today. They kill our people, and then we have to be sensitive to them and their culture. Yeah, that's exactly what he said.
I have that tape, too. My goodness, you people are on top of things. Do we have that tape, or did I dream that?
His past was horrible. He was a terrorist. He was a monster. And he's no longer a monster. He's dead. And that's a good thing for a lot of countries. I don't think anybody can complain about it. I don't hear too many people, other than politicians who are trying to win the presidency. Those are the ones that are complaining.
Then you got the AP they play video on their Twitter page of the Supreme Leader crying. You have Michael Moore penning an apology to the Supreme Leader. You have the New York Times writing their obituary. It's like this guy wasn't a terrorist and killing over 600 of our troops.
No, wait a second.
17%
Everything you
of
just
those
said is
deaths in
news.
Iraq.
Everything you just said is news. When you have the Supreme Leader reacting in that way to the man's death, that's informing us about the reaction on the ground.
The apology
How
was
about
to-
the big protest?
Should we be apologizing
But
to
here's
them?
my point. Here's the point I was trying to make. Is the U.S. safer? Is Israel safer? Without the Iran deal, are we safer? Are we in a better position
If there
to
was
fight
an immediate
ISIS?
threat, we
No,
are safer.
We are
But
not.
Democrats don't want to hear the intelligence.
Wait a second then. Tell me what
if I
the
could just
immediate
get in
threat
here
was,
for a
because
sec.
this guy has
I
been
know
going
that you wanted to
about
be each
plotting
other, but
terrorist
I wanna
attacks
hear
for a
from
long
Katie.
time.
That's true. Yes. That means that the immediate threat is proof in the past. They killed people.
What immediate threat? Show
like
me an
daily.
immediate threat.
All right.
There's enough public information. Reuters has an amazing piece out about how Soleimani was in Iraq in September and October, sitting across from the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad and talking about the way that they were going to use new Iranian militias that had not yet been detected by the United States to go after American troops, both in Iraq and all over the region. So there's plenty of public information on that. The problem is not asking questions about what might happen next. The issue is that you're insinuating that the president and his entire administration isn't thinking about that. And they didn't think through that if we take this guy out, and Mohandas, who was also in the car, who was another terrorist who was a really bad actor, smuggled in most of the IEDs from Iran to Iraq that blew up our troops, he was in the car as well. The intelligence and on where they were at the right time was good. So now we're questioning, what's going to happen next. Of course, but the idea that we don't know or have a plan leading up to this is ridiculous. And also, they keep saying, well, the president is incompetent. He doesn't know what the Iranians are going to do, blah, blah, blah. They've been on this guy, and they understand that the Obama administration appeased the regime over and over again. Soleimani had sanctions taken off of him as a result of the Iran deal, as a result of Barack Obama's negotiations on that deal. And yet here we are today questioning whether President Trump is the one who was appeasing the Iranians.
You were one of the Democrats saying President Trump always questions our intelligence agencies. Now he trusts them, and now it's a problem.
Wait a second.
He's trusting the intelligence agencies
Excuse me.
Let's go take them out.
Wait a minute. Stop the presses. Stop everything. Juan Williams is going to quote Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson said, oh, wait a minute. It was people like Lawrence who were saying, oh, this is the deep state. We can't trust the deep state. They're terrible. Now, we love the deep state. Tucker Carlson, hats off.
No, it is. But the thing is, I think that you can say both things. You don't have to trust any intelligence. You don't have to trust it, but you can still kill the guy.
Yeah,
you can do
that's all
both.
what it is.
No,
Your point was, oh, we don't trust the president because we think the president isn't thinking this through.
I know.
Have we de-escalated?
I know.
This president put sanctions, economic sanctions on, and had they had any effect? If so, why did he have to kill
Yeah,
somebody?
because powers of cash did so well.
They have had an effect. And the idea that we need to go is right now.
Oh, yes. I want to thank Juan for laughing at my joke about the page.
I want to thank Sandra for her compliment.
See,
Juan for
we're very
talking in
civil
the
here
third
at the
person.
Five.